This episode of Marijuana Today Daily is brought to you by our friends over at Curaleaf, one of the nation's top multi-state cannabis operators with 49 local dispensaries, 14 cultivation sites, and 13 processing facilities, serving up more than 165,000 registered medical marijuana patients. Check them out over at curaleaf.com, spelled Curaleaf. Good morning, Marijuana Nation. It's Tuesday, October 15th, 2019, and you're tuned in to episode 818 of Marijuana Today Daily. I'm your host, Shay Gunther, and I'll be walking you through today's marijuana news and headlines. As always, we have a full and busy day of cannabis news in our hands, so let's jump right into it. We kick off this week's news with another broader political story with a marijuana twist. The Federal Bureau of Investigations is reportedly investigating potential criminal corruption in Sacramento, California's legal cannabis industry. And like our top news on Friday, this one is connected to the corrupt and criminal Trump administration. Big surprise there. The Sacramento Bee picked up on this one, which involves businessman Andrei Kukushkin, one of the 4 Trump goons arrested last week on charges that they had illegally diverted foreign money to influence domestic political campaigns in favor of President Donald Trump. And like our story last week, this one is tied to legal cannabis via the marijuana business license sought by Mr. Kukushkin, who had allegedly slung around all kinds of dirty money in Sacramento in a bid to secure his license. Pop over to the Sacramento Bee if you need more on this. Tom Angel, writing over at Forbes, keeps our focus in California for our second headline as he nicely rounds out a story on the various bills either signed into law or not by California Governor Gavin Newsom over the last week or so. On Saturday, Gavin Newsom announced some of the bills he was taking action on, which includes a measure letting Californians deduct marijuana business-related expenses from their state taxes, and one that will allow nonprofit organizations to donate medical cannabis to patients in need free of charge. One bill that the governor did not sign was Senate Bill 305, which would have allowed terminal care patients the right to use certain kinds of medical marijuana in hospital. Governor Newsom explained his veto of that bill by saying that it set up too many potential conflicts with federal law for hospitals. You can swing over to Tom's story on Forbes for more details on those and other cannabis-related bills processed by the governor. Today's final top story brings us out to Colorado, where state regulators are working on a set of new rules governing legal vaporizers and the additives that are allowed to be in them. Unlike Massachusetts, which dropped an across-the-board ban on all vaporizer products, or Oregon, which limited its ban to flavored vapes, Colorado is going after just 3 additives in particular, banning the use of vitamin E acetate, MCT oil, and polyethylene glycol. Colorado vapes will also be required to be labeled with all ingredients included inside. All in all, sounds like a perfectly reasonable set of new regulations. The proposed rules will go up for a vote later tonight at a public meeting to be held by the Colorado Marijuana Enforcement Division and would go into effect, if passed, on January 1st. Those are our top stories for today. It's time for Marijuana Today Daily Headlines Blitz. Before we blitz it in headlines, let's quickly thank our sponsor, Curaleaf, one of the nation's top multi-state cannabis operators with 49 local dispensaries, 14 cultivation sites, and 13 processing facilities, serving up more than 165,000 registered medical marijuana patients. Swing over to Curaleaf.com, spelled Curaleaf, to check out the closest Curaleaf shop to you, because there's no better way to experience the Curaleaf difference than by making a visit yourself. You'll see right away the emphasis that Curaleaf puts on customer education as well as research and development, as their 3 main retail lines are designed to cover the full legal cannabis spectrum, from Curaleaf medical marijuana through Curaleaf hemp and Yuku craft cannabis. Live life well with Curaleaf. And while you're over at Curaleaf.com, you can spend some time learning about Curaleaf the stock, now traded up on the Canadian Securities Exchange under the symbol CURA. We're super happy to have Curaleaf as our exclusive multi-state cannabis operator sponsor here at MJ Today Media, and appreciate the support of everyone over at Curaleaf in helping make today's news possible. All right, time for the blitz. Maureen Flanagan Battistella over at the Mail Tribune wrote a good piece about Oregon's legal marijuana supply, which was estimated earlier this year at running around 6 or 7 times larger than the state's total demand for legal cannabis. Oregon farmers were seeing pricing for wholesale cannabis in the low hundreds of dollars, while consumers enjoyed sub $5 eighths of flower at dispensaries. As a response, Oregon lawmakers passed a moratorium on giving out new cultivation licenses that runs through the end of 2021. In the last month or so, we've seen wholesale prices for legal Oregon cannabis go up as the realities of the market have settled in, with the consensus building that the 6 or 7 times greater supply estimate was a little bit inflated with warehoused cannabis that likely won't ever be sold, as well as waste trimmings that farmers just haven't dealt with yet. This one is worth taking a look at as it's only going to get more interesting. The Anchorage, Alaska Assembly just voted 7-4 on a proposal that will kick the question of allowing for the public social use of cannabis in licensed businesses to Anchorage citizens next year. The ballot measure will run early April and will ask citizens whether they support marijuana's social use businesses, though the exact language of the measure is yet to be determined. Stores specializing in vaporizer products are starting to close in Oregon in the wake of that state's new 6-month ban on the sale of flavored vaporizers. Store owners are upset and consumers are upset, with some saying they'll likely go back to smoking cigarettes. A farm in Vermont opened up its fields this past holiday weekend to customers to wander through to pick their own industrial hemp, mimicking a Maine farm that did the same just last month. A farmer at Vermont's Barrowmoo Farms said that the weekend was a success and that they were thinking of doing it again next year. I think there might be a teeny tiny seed of a trend here. Bruce Barcott over at Leafly has a good editorial piece up under his Haymaker series that looks at a recent case of a man in New Orleans busted for possessing a small amount of marijuana who escaped being charged for a felony because the local prosecutor could not assemble enough local jurors who agreed that it was reasonable to throw people in jail for years for having a little bit of cannabis. The case involves a popular local server named Jabbar Kenzie, who was arrested for having an ounce of marijuana and who is facing 15 to 20 years in prison. Thankfully, Orleans Parish District Attorney Leon Cannizzaro was not able to assemble a large enough jury after dismissing potential members for having reasonable views on cannabis law. This is a feel-good story to read and a really wonderful reminder of the power of the jury. Recently in Washington state, a commercial pesticide maker was able to remove 3 of its products from a list of approved products for licensed marijuana cultivators to use because it did not want its brand associated with legal cannabis. The company making the Natria brand contacted the Washington State Department of Agriculture and was able to strip 3 products from the list of approved pesticides. Not because the products were found to be bad for consumers, but because it could hurt the brand of the company. Which, if you really think about it, means that consumers are a little bit less protected now because marijuana farmers have less legal tools to use to fight pests and maybe more incentive to use off-book products. This is one of the small but myriad reasons why federal prohibition needs to fall. There are just way too many stupid cracks like this. And finally for today, Kyle Yeager over Marijuana Moment wraps up our day with a pickup of a vote held on Sunday by Scotland's largest political party, approving a resolution supporting the decriminalization of all drugs. Delegates with the Scottish National Party cast a unanimous vote on the resolution, which pushes the idea that people with drug problems should be able to get treatment rather than be treated like criminals. Those are the headlines and news for the day. I'll be back with you again tomorrow morning with another information-packed episode of Marijuana Today Daily. But in the meantime, if you have any stories to share or feedback to give, zip us an email to headlines@mjtodaydaily.com. And while you're clicking around the interwebs, swing over to our website at mjtodaydaily.com to find links to all the news we cover. Thanks to our sponsor, Curaleaf, and to all of our awesome Patreon listeners for the support that makes this show possible. To join the illustrious ranks of the Patreon listeners yourself, swing over to our website at mjtodaydaily.com and click on that big blue button at the top of the page that says Become a Patron. I'm your host, Shay Gunther. Thanks for tuning in and starting your day with marijuana today. Today.
One take, Shay. One take.